Welcome to So You Think You Can Date, a podcast for those ready to do dating differently. I'm Nicki Pappas, a queer, poly, millennial mom who is dating again for the first time in 15 years. What could go wrong? LOLs. While lots can go wrong, and has, a lot has also gone really well. The So You Think You Can Date podcast is about my adventures in dating. You don't have to hold the identities I hold to benefit from the life experiences I share here. Let's talk about communication, connection, and consent, regardless of what type of relationship you are in or looking for. With vulnerability, authenticity, and curiosity, I'm exploring unfamiliar terrain and would love for you to join me. In this 9th episode, I'm going to talk about being stood up for a date. It's an experience that I found to be embarrassing for 2 reasons. 1, because showing up somewhere and not having the person come is awkward enough. 2, because I was completely caught off guard. I honestly didn't expect it at all. Hopefully this won't happen to you, but if it does, this episode will help you know you aren't alone. Here's what happened to me. I've been on a couple of dates already with this guy. We had a great time on every date. Seriously, I laughed so much with him. We'd also already had an overnight, so this wasn't some rando or a first date that was a no-show. We hadn't seen each other in a few weeks, and we set up a coffee date for 4 o'clock at a local shop. And for the record, I want to state he set it up. He's the one who reached out to me and asked about a date and set up the time for this coffee shop. First, he'd asked if I wanted to go for a walk somewhere, but it ended up being a chillier day. So he was like, well, unfortunately, we can't go for a walk, but would you like to meet for coffee? So that's the backstory there. So I arrived at 3:50 for our 4 o'clock date, and I headed inside. As I was ordering my coffee at 3:51, I got a series of text messages from him. Hey, I'm so sorry for being a last minute shit on this, but I can't come out. I wish I told you earlier, lost track of time. The second message, and I'm also sleep deprived and it caught up to me. I'm working on a paid editing gig and stayed up all night and still working on some tweaks. Third, I'm too stressed at the moment and not feeling well. This, my friends, is what we call the excuse train. As soon as I read the text, I knew he was just making excuses instead of being direct with me. I've learned the hard way that if someone is making excuses, that person isn't interested, or at least not interested enough to put in any effort. To make matters worse, the store owner, who I personally know, saw me and walked up to me as I was processing the text messages. While I was talking to her, she asked me the name of the person I was supposed to be meeting because some of the identifying characteristics I'd shared about him and his work piqued her interest. When I told her his name, her jaw dropped. She said that he'd been working upstairs in the store and had left about 10 minutes before after talking with her husband about an event that would be taking place at the store in a few days. Y'all, I even pulled up his picture after she told me the story to confirm that we were talking about the same person. We were. Then he called me. When I didn't answer, he texted, just wanted to call and apologize. I understand you're probably not happy with me right now. After I finished talking with the store owner, I took a few minutes to ground myself before responding to his text. At this point, not only had he stood me up, but he'd also lied to me, acting as if he'd lost track of time when he'd actually been there and left 10 minutes before I arrived. Once I felt settled in my body, I replied, hey, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I missed your call, because that's true. That's why I hadn't seen the call. I don't really feel like talking at the moment, but I appreciate you calling to apologize. I'm going to just ask for some space, and I'll reach out when I'm ready. I hope you're able to get everything done that you need to finish, and I'm sending you big love now and always. As of the time of this recording, it's been a little over 2 months since he stood me up. I have yet to reach out and have no plans to. There really isn't anything I want or need to say to him. After I drank my coffee, I texted another friend of mine, a guy I'd been seeing for a few months. This friend and I talked about the situation, and I cried about these guys who are fumbling me, like the guy who stood me up, and there was this other guy who had pulled away from me when things got too intense between us. And I'm just like, stop fumbling me. Hold on to the ball, right? But my friend told me that he had something to say and that he knew I wouldn't want to hear it, but these men don't want to prioritize me. It's as simple as that. If they wanted to prioritize me, they would. The next day, I talked with my work bestie about being stood up. She firmly but gently reminded me that I did not have to give so much time and energy to the situation because I was asking her, what should I do? What should I say? And she was just like, hey, you've already given enough time and energy here. And I could just move on and not let it take up any more space in my mind. So when I asked her if I should confront him about it, let him know that I knew he lied, she asked, why? We talked about how it wouldn't do any good and he's likely to continue the same patterns of behavior, whether I confront him or not. So in this short episode, the short of it is, if someone stands you up, it is not a poor reflection of you. You can't control the choices of someone else, someone who stands you up. However, you can choose how you respond or don't respond to their behavior. And you can choose to invest your time, energy, and emotional capacity into connections with people who also invest their time, energy, and emotional capacity into you. Like I talked about in episode 6, the people who are meant to be an integral part of our lives will be connections rooted in authenticity, safety, and reciprocity. Thank you so much for tuning in for this 9th episode of the So You Think You Can Date podcast. Make sure to subscribe to So You Think You Can Date, rate and review on all the platforms, and share this episode with someone that you think would enjoy it and who is ready to do dating differently. Also, pre-order my new book, Coming of Age and Coming Out, Stories of Repressed and Reclaimed Sexual Desire. Pre-order today by visiting nickipappas.com/shop. Coming of Age and Coming Out is a collection of stories about coming of age from childhood through adolescence and then coming out in my 30s as queer and non-monogamous. It will be officially released in June 2025. With your pre-order purchase, you will receive a free download of the Come Alive guide in your inbox. If you want to follow my writing, you can subscribe to my Substack that is called Coming Alive, where I write about pursuing all that makes us come alive, per the Howard Thurman quote. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. You can follow me on Instagram at Broadening the Narrative, which is the account I started in 2019 to document my journey in broadening the narratives or stories that I was taught about myself and others. Come back next week for an episode about a bad date.